Okay, so I've got all 3 sets of ribs woven in here, and you see that they're all single now. Okay, so what I want to do is I want this half circle to be oval. I want these areas here filled in, because if I kept weaving in a half circle, these points would meet up here, and then I'd have these big V's here, in theory, and I'll show you how to. Next step is to give us a weave right down the center. But so what I need to do is I need to make these more rectangular, and the way that you do that is by doing turnbacks. So you need a good wet weaver. This one's a little dry. So I'm going to work on this side first. So it's this area right here that I'm trying to fill in. So you're kind of thinking pizza wedges. So when you're making a turn, you always make a turn on top of a stake. So I'm looking at this and seeing that this is the high point here. If I was taking care of this area right here, this is where it starts to drop. So I'm looking for a stake or a rib that I can turn on top of. So I think what it's going to be is I could either turn here or I can turn on this one. When I make the turn, I want to turn to the inside of a stake. See how that is on the inside of the stake. And the reason that I do that is then I can pull that down, and when I come back with this other row, it'll actually go on top of it. And because you want to make your turns on top of a stake, it'll be every other stake that you make a turn on. And then, you know, I'm trying to level this out too. I want this area filled here, that area there. So I'm going to turn on top of this one. And when I make the turn, remember I turn to the inside. Okay, I turn to the inside. And then see how that goes right down on that existing row so that you don't have holes in your work. Okay? So remember I said that I have to be on top of, and it's every other one. So here's where that stake was. It'll have to be this one that gets turned on. So I make the turn back, and I always turn to the inside of the basket. Okay, this is getting a little bit dry. I'm going to go back here. And remember I said every other one I'm going to make a turn back on. That was a turn back, so it has to be this one. And I turn to the inside. Once again, so you can see it, it's turning on the inside of the basket. And I want to bring that down as much as I can. So when you're doing turnbacks, in order to get this, see how this is already squaring that up in comparison to this one. Okay, so I'll turn on this one. The, every other one on the top here. Pull that down. And then what I'll do is I'll come all the way back down. See how that goes right on top of those turnbacks so you don't see them? All the way down to the rim, and that kind of cleans your slate. Or cleans your turnback. So that I can do this again, and really the rest of this basket, other than putting the stripe down the center, is turnbacks until you get it so that this point, the center of your basket and over here is one straight line. That's your goal on both sides. You want to make sure that you don't If you do like an inch worth of work on this side, you go across and you do an inch worth of work on the other side, and it keeps the tension even in your basket so that your basket doesn't get distorted. But see how nicely that goes over the top of those? Excuse me. So that you don't see the turnbacks and there's no holes in your work. So then, get this wet again. I'm going to go over to the other side, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. So it's always the same weaver, and then I'll start doing my turnbacks on this side. So look at the difference. See how much that's squared up? And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Next and last video coming up is how we do a center stripe to make sure that our bottom is perfect, and then you just keep working in from the sides.